I'm Nick, and this is Kenny. We're the Malt Vault. Strap on. Yuengling, the start of a revolution for United States.
What revolution?
Oldest independently owned brewery. Go ahead and pour that for our viewers. Listeners to hear the bubbling.
Our viewers.
The viewer.
Wait, are we doing shout-outs right now?
We might.
We should start with a shout out.
Yeah. So last night we had taco night, when the hottest day of the year so far. We had taco night, and one of our aspired first number one fans wrote us a review that fell off into the ether.
Yeah. Maria Bope, come on down.
Just want to put a disclaimer out there. If you want to comment or send us a review, we would love to shout you out on our show.
We've had a huge problem with the comments getting rejected. That's why there's so few comments. It's like,
Yeah, Nick, have you been running point on the comments to make sure that they're okay for family reasons or whatever?
For sure.
it looked like 97% of our comments got flagged for hateful, insightful speech, so we must be doing something right.
Yeah.
How many number one fans can we have?
Oh,
Possibilities are endless.
you're our number one fan. See, that's what they do.
We're called MVP. That's like participation trophy style. So
I don't know where to point. I feel like we're like that awkward hug where between like Will Ferrell and Step Brothers, where they're like they don't know how to hug because they've beat the shit out of each other the entire time. They're like, ugh.
But MVP, that's not participation trophy. That's
We're looking for the best of the best.
That's singling out the most. Not like everyone's. We're not EVP. Everyone's a valuable player.
So
The most.
just want to point out that Maria's, she did send me her actual review.
Oh,
Yeah. No.
sorry, Shane.
Sorry, Shane. Those are, Anyways, I digress. Life's too short to listen to a shitty podcast. Check out the Malt Vault. I may be an alcoholic after listening to the reference of great beer. Excited to see what I drink next. Now, a little bit to unpack on there. We support alcoholism.
No, we don't.
Nope.
Okay, we don't. Okay, just want to make sure. I want to get the vibe on it.
That was a question, not a statement from
Yes.
you. Yeah.
As your legal representation.
But if you do enjoy beer because of us,
Wait,
that's what we're here for.
Nick
If
just
you
said
also
enjoy.
don't, if you
10 cents.
if you enjoy beer
20
because
cents.
of us, where's this money going to Kenny's Patreon page?
No, I haven't even linked that up
How much
yet.
weight has your children lost at this point? Because nobody's donating to the Patreon page.
Yeah, it's spotty.
Next episode,
bone
Sarah
soup.
McLaughlin is coming in. Pictures of your kids.
All right, hold on. Why did Maria send this directly to you?
No,
because
she tried to put it on the Apple Podcasts. Mm-hmm. You know.
And it just disappeared.
Wait, what? Look on the TV screen right now.
Oh no.
God
Michael
damn
J.
it.
Fox. This is sad. That's another reason to put Sarah McLaughlin on.
No,
but
there's never a good reason for that.
if you enjoy drinking beer because of us,
30 cents.
that's our goal. If you don't, and you never want to drink beer again because of us, that's also our intention. You might love or hate beer because of us, and we just want to be polarizing in that way.
Sure.
We don't want like your modest beer drinking. We either want you to be one end of the spectrum or the other. We want you to go balls to the wall, or we want you to just cut it off completely cold turkey.
You can't say Spectrum. It's one of my triggers.
Yeah, you have to say Time Warner.
Speaking of,
Time Warner Insight, Embark.
I have to shout out my brother. Great. He had a great quote earlier. He said that nationalism and patriotism are dead. It's all about autism. Thanks, Kevin.
Nice.
Local listener.
He's well.
Avid.
They were the ones who, like,
Avid beer drinker.
they only knew there was one podcast. It's like, yeah, we're shooting the podcast. later.
Kevin didn't know there was more than one
You know,
episode.
I don't know if him. Well, definitely Mike Devine. Dude, we're shouting everybody out. Didn't know there was another one. I was like, yeah, this will be like number 7 today. He's like, oh, you only sent me the first one. So apparently we have to subscribe for people as well.
So we're gonna launch a YouTube tutorial.
It's a good thing we're in
video.
tech.
You have to go to our channel, and then there are all our videos there. All 7 now, 8, I think.
Nope, 7.
Well, this is our last one, so it's a good thing they got in now.
It is. This will be our last episode.
Cheers.
Yeah.
So Yuengling, story of him. He was a German immigrant.
David?
David Gottlieb Yuengling. That's what the G stands for. Not just like Young Jeezy.
And where did he come from?
Germany.
Always.
Everybody's coming from Germany here.
My theory holds true.
That's a cloud of crowds.
You have to have a German to make beer.
Can you be called Dave back then, or was Dave like a postmodern type of name?
David?
Like just Dave. Did anybody go by Dave like
I think
200 years ago?
I think the correct
years
way
ago.
is Davidians.
The statue of David is
See what I did
from
there?
like
David Koresh.
from the statue of David was from a
Nick, what the fuck was that?
don't make that noise. Sounds like
Yeah, the
aliens
statue
in
of
here.
David, but nobody called him Dave.
Maybe that was like it was since the statue of David was like the pinnacle of man, right? That's
Yeah.
supposed to be the big thing. So maybe if you called someone David, you were being super. No, the screen.
Yeah, I know.
We're just gonna have to shut her down. Nick, turn the TV off.
cut the podcast.
Don't cut our funding. So, like, if you called someone David, right? You're calling them like perfect. It'd be like naming your son Jesus. Like, you don't do that. You can name him Jesus.
They do it now, Jesus.
Spanish, yeah.
Oh, that's
Spelled the
different.
same way.
That's different, though, right? But if you named your kid David, that might be conceited, I think.
You know how many country folk would see Jesus and assume it was Jesus? It wouldn't be
Country
Jesus to
folk?
them. Yeah, you know, people like affluent people would be like, "Oh, Jesus."
Sure.
Yeah, if you name your kid David, he's got to be packing heat.
Yeah, he's got to have a shell where there shouldn't be shells, right? Because didn't they cover that up with a shell at
With a
some point?
loincloth, leaves, ivy.
All I know is people go to Rome and stare at David's dick all day.
What am I, some kind of freak? Because
I think there was a time where they like put a shell on it though.
Super bad
Maybe
quote.
I'm thinking of something wrong. Like to cover the
not
statue.
Ariel.
And then they removed it as we became less.
Sebastian.
Had to get some air on
Rude,
it.
yeah.
A little airflow. But nobody's called David like 100 years ago, right?
Yeah, probably
You think so? We should ask.
David Yuengling.
Yeah, David.
I mean Dave. Am I saying David the entire time?
I think we got into a debate about it. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, we went off on a tangent, which is kind of what we do.
I'm going to cut this whole part.
So, anyways, Yuengling lager or traditional lager, if you look here, yeah, traditional lager. It's 4.5% with a 12 IBU. It actually has our highest rating to date at a 3.49 on Untappd.
I just wanted to go against that again like last time
To date,
where you were like, is this our highest one? I was like, nope.
3.49 rating to date on June 3rd, 2023, the year of our Lord. And it's light that Kenny also had. Kenny, you had
Yeah.
the light, which
Sure.
is also a relatively new brew. Is a 4%, so you lose about a 0.5%, but you actually gain some bitterness and 15 IBU.
And it's only
And
99
it's
calories.
2.99 review. Didn't make that 3-star cut. But funny thing about Yuengling, and we'll get into this later, is the traditional lager was not actually its flagship to start. They had 2 beers to start in 1829 that were
Was it the porter?
the porter
Sorry,
that
I
you
didn't
can
mean to
still
jump in.
get. No, you're fine. You can still get porter in all the 18 states that they distribute to, but you cannot get Lord Chesterfield Ale, which was one of the main originals. Yeah, that you can get near Pottsville, but if you go onto their website to locate it, you can't find it in anywhere other than local distributors close to Pottsville.
Did Lord Chesterfield diddle a kid? Was he Catholic?
Lord Chesterfield was
Chesterfield sounds like he only diddles himself because
So
he
name-
wasn't
I have-
affluent with the ladies.
I have the wiki.
Oh, okay.
Run it.
Let's hear
Lord Chesterfield was named for Philip Stanhope, the 4th Earl of Chesterfield. It's Yuengling's hoppiest beer. Let me go to Philip Stanhope, the 4th Earl of Chesterfield.
it. He stands to hope.
No diddles.
Diddle free. Good for him.
Diddle free.
Who did he have to pay off to get a name on a beer?
He was a lord.
Lord and lady.
He was probably I think he was in Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger.
It's called a lance. Hello.
Every time that we're looking for movies on, whether it be Netflix or Apple TV or whatever, A Knight's Tale always pops up.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Do a Knight's Tale, and if you want to like spend a night feeling reminiscent or nostalgic, go to Knight's Tale and just look like people also searched. Boom, and then there's your next 10 movie nights, like 10 Things I Hate About You. They're mostly
Yeah.
just Heath Ledger rom-coms, but I'm a fan.
I'm gonna watch them.
Yeah, Yeah, just don't get to
You know
Devil
which
Wears
one that
Prada.
did?
Ugh.
Never seen it.
Brokeback Mountain.
Sure you have.
Yeah, so they still offer a lot. I mean, no, a really popular beer right now that people like is a black and tan. I know that was like something that I always like was scouting for because it was a really good beer. But they have like a Golden Pilsner Flight, which is like a real trendy thing now, where they have like these super low calorie beers.
That's
Stuff
different
like
than that one. There's Flight
That's
and Light.
Light and
Yes,
Flight.
Flight was
is like
Flight.
their-
It was in 2020. The brewery is deemed the next generation of light beer, being lower in calories and carbs than most other beers. But it's also you always lose alcohol percentage too. I don't have the alcohol percentage. Is that what you just Googled?
No, I was looking up Denzel Washington in the movie Flight. Is that what you're going to ask
Oh.
next?
What an underrated film.
I was drunk.
I was thinking maybe he was drinking some of this beer. He was drinking. No, he probably wasn't drinking Flight
I'm
on
gonna
Flight.
guess that he was drinking the hard liquor and spirits, or maybe whiskey, because
We
it
sh-
always helps.
should we spoil
it
the
does
movie?
not help you fly.
Yeah, go ahead. I think if you haven't seen Flight by now, you really don't want to.
I don't really remember. He gets really drunk and then he gets undrunk and then he re-drinks and then lands the plane.
Really?
I don't. Was that it?
I never finished it. I just keep
I just know
thinking.
the meme.
My mind keeps going back to that Tom Hanks Sully movie.
Oh yeah, where he saved.
He did
the
land
Hudson.
it. Yeah, when that
In the Hudson.
stupid goose.
Yeah. Well, so 1829, 194. It actually wasn't Yuengling to start. It was the Eagle Brewery,
Yeah.
which you still see on their can today,
Which
on
is
Center Street in Pottsville. But Kenny will get into some stuff because that is not actually the current location on Center Street anymore.
no. So David Yuengling, started started Eagle Brewery in 1829. 2 years later, the entire brewery was destroyed in a fire. This guy said he was not going to give up. Not in America, damn it. And he
Yeah.
built a new brewery just a couple blocks over on Mahantago Street.
That's a
still in
weird
Pottsville,
name.
still in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, and that's still where Yuengling is located today. It was still called Eagle Brewery for a while, but his son joined the business in 1873, which that's quite the gap. He brought his son on as partner in 1873. That's almost I'm not good at math, but it's almost 45 years later after he started it. So I don't know how old his son was.
And that's when it.
That's when he changed the name
changed the name.
to DG Yuengling and Son.
DG Yuengling and Son, and it's actually it's a historical place. Yuengling, their beer is in the
anything from the
registry. It's in the
early
registry of a
1800s.
historical place.
Oh, they actually registered it. Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
It's still. Go ahead.
No, you go.
You lost it.
Go ahead.
I lost it now.
Oh,
no,
God.
I think
We're all
I was
lost.
just gonna say. I think any building built in the 1830s that's still working should be historical.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Good craftsmanship,
But I'm not a
Good, hard
registrar.
American, red-blooded.
Not a registrar, so I don't have a list.
I just wanted to keep interrupting you, but
No, go ahead.
I had nothing.
Damn.
No, I'm kidding. This basement should be a historical thing in the future.
Yeah, that's my plan. Maybe I'll do something cool here.
Want to start a podcast?
Yeah. Like he started brewing podcasts in his basement and then he expanded to national distribution.
A lot of good words there that I think could work out.
Yeah.
I think the interwebs already makes you a multinational
Just cut and paste.
Yeah.
copy and
Got you.
paste.
We'll get
You
it.
said enough words that we can basically do this podcast without you now.
Chat GPT. It's got it figured out now.
That's crazy. I told you my brother has a podcast and
Family business.
not the same. His is wildly more successful. You might have heard of him. Joe Rogan. No. Same story, different ending.
Speaking of family, like this, in my research, there was a lot of. Shut up! All right. My hypothesis I've come to the conclusion.
that's like science
so
and
there was a
English.
lot of information that was very explicit about that this company has been purchased from the current son. It's not been like passed down. A lot of things but they were very emphatic about the fact that this was been purchased. So it's almost like these sons have like earned that respect, which we'll get into later about some advertising that they did recently. But I felt like it was earned, and they had to like buy their way to own this brewery.
Yeah.
I feel like if they continue to bring that up, everything that I was reading, it wasn't just inherited. It was like you have to earn your right to purchase and own this company because it still is the largest independently owned brewery, and you're going to learn a lot about other beers that have been taken over because of a holding company because either they failed to change with the times or they just got bought out by big beer.
Yeah, this is a good one to support for family oriented. It is odd that it's always their son though.
I'm not saying
no one else earned it more.
I'm not saying there's not nepotism, but when they say that they explicitly bought it, there's got to be some validity and some truth to the fact that it's almost like it's a culture that you will inherit this, but you have to earn the right to purchase it and put it in a direction that's going to make it successful.
That makes sense.
You got to earn your stripes. It's like the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like
the Yankees.
Tony the Tiger, Frosted
Classic
Flakes.
nepotism. Derek Jeter, Alex
He's
Jeter.
a biracial angel. He should have shot A-Rod.
He shot A-Rod. He cost me $50,000. So yeah, big family business. I think they're on their 6th generation Yuengling, Dick Yuengling. Dick Yuengling, speaking of reproducing and children, surprisingly, is the first one that does not have a son.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so dicks, no dicks. Now he's down to he has 4 daughters.
Sounds like he needs to adopt.
Wow, you can't bring in he's like I want to say probably in his 60s or 70s now.
When you make that much money,
but,
I guess you could be choosy.
But he's ready. Go ahead.
Nick, can you commiserate with a fellow girl dad?
Ooh.
Do you think he wears the shirts?
He might.
You guys have a similar wardrobe?
I'm gonna guess he's got a nice man cave. I built a man cave because when both of my kids are teens, I'm gonna want to escape. I'm gonna actually flip the door into my garage, which is my man cave.
I think
and I'm gonna lock it from the outside in so that they can't get to me.
Nick's gonna die of just being locked in his own garage. He's gonna fuck up the lock.
If I can't
lose the key,
if I can't make it out of my garage, then
especially there's a
natural
big button.
Natural selection there.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear? I mean, this is another tangent before I go on, but there was a guy who broke into somebody's garage like through a window and couldn't get out of the garage, and he died. And there's a burglar, and his family sued the family whose house he broken into and said they
This sounds like a plot from Liar Liar.
He was just breaking in, but that's not a reason for him to die. And the family of the guy their house broken into had to pay this dude's family.
Is this true?
Yeah, 100% verifiable.
This sounds exactly like Liar Liar.
I think it might have been in Canada, but he broke in through a window, got stuck in this garage, died, like tried to eat dog food that he was in there, and he couldn't get out. And they said that because it was an unsafe house.
How long was he in there?
A couple days. I don't know. I think they were on vacation. I'll look it up. They'll do a look back. This is a real thing. I'll find this.
This is a go back.
One of those where you're like, yeah, you wouldn't know him. He went to a different school. Sarah Jenkins.
She goes to another
Leroy.
school. Anyways, okay, hold on real quick. I gotta go with this
Yeah.
with the beer so we don't forget why we're here.
Yeah. Beer.
Yeah. So
The more you drink, the more you might forget, though.
I will. That's why I gotta jump in now. So Frederick. Yeah, so we're on the 6th generation now. Dick Yuengling had 4 daughters. All 4 work for Yuengling currently in chief executive roles. Weird. Not nepotism, though.
Did you reach out to them?
I reached out.
For comment.
Yeah, via podcast, and she didn't respond. But he has promised one of his daughters privately that she will be the next in charge of Yuengling, but it's not public which daughter it is. Will it be Wendy? Will it be Jennifer? We don't know.
It's like The Bachelorette.
Yeah, it's so Jennifer or
Someone's going to
Wendy
get an eagle instead of a rose.
are going to take over. The other 2, Debbie and Cheryl,
Debbie.
not as popular.
I heard she's
It's
going to
not
do
gonna be
Dallas instead.
Well, there are more things about Texas that I can bring up later. So where are we at?
Juicy.
Yeah, DG, the original, died in 1877, and it went to Frederick. He ran it. They added their bottling line in 1895, which was rare for beers to be bottled this early. I think in the 1870s and 80s, I went off on a tangent reading about it, but they didn't bottle a lot of lagers, especially It was the stouts and the darker, heavier beers
Porters.
because they had natural like preservatives in them. But it was
Yeah.
odd for them to bottle this, but it allowed them to get into taverns and bars that other beers weren't, like where keg transport was hard to get.
Gotcha.
So they're able to do cases of bottles, which was help them out. Then we get to Prohibition.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, do you know how they survived Prohibition?
Yes. Go ahead. You seem to have
I have some
more
stuff
on it.
on
Go
it.
ahead. Take this one.
One thing that I've kind of noticed a trend, a lot of the American-owned breweries have spent a lot of effort during Prohibition making ice cream.
I thought this was the only one I'd heard of that had done that.
Well, we'll talk about Stroh's and Pabst. Pabst actually got into some other dairy stuff, but like a lot of these have actually like maintained an ice cream until up until recently, and they've sold off that. But like their beers, like everybody did near beer. Like I think
Yeah.
that's also a trend.
Who's already
But
making beer? They can just
They
lower
had
the
they had
fermentation
Yuengling Special.
process.
Now technically they were 0.5%, so technically there was still an alcohol in them, but they were
But they
considered
were legal.
legal. You had Yuengling Special, Pour Tor. It's POR-TOR instead of Porter. And then they had
Juvo.
Yuengling Juvo, which is actually presently like an energy drink.
Would it
Real? Right now?
I don't know. I
not
read
from
that-
Yuengling?
Not from Yuengling, but they said
It's Juvo. I wonder if
Yeah,
that's just a
Juvo.
plant or like some kind of additive.
yeah. Well, it was used like an energy drink, essentially,
In the 20s?
like almost like a tea. Yeah.
This is something
Like when doctors used to.
Do you want to read that? Like, do you want to fact check me on that? But
No, I
read
was trying to
some
see what
criteria about
Juvo
that.
is. If it was like a natural herb or something that is
Yeah.
also. I wonder if the ice cream and the brewing process, if they can use like a lot of the same equipment or something. Then, because why would you start? Just gonna go buy a dairy
And they
when you're a
also
beer brewer just
they
to survive.
also ran dance halls in major cities. Like they did it in Philly,
Like
Baltimore,
banquet?
New York. Yeah,
Like banquets.
banquets. But
That's a
at
throwback.
that point, there was no such thing as Coors because in our first episode, we derived that not until like 75 or 73, there was no beer.
Mid 70s, they didn't. No Coors.
Coors
yeah.
wasn't even coming this way.
They couldn't even have banquets.
Hell, it wasn't even in Montana or Washington. Poor
Montana.
guys.
Yeah.
Well, I know one thing. They
Yes.
weren't doing this shit in Oklahoma because that was where they did Footloose. You know what I'm saying? No dancing there.
Roadhouse too.
Was that Oklahoma?
Might have been. I don't know. Let's ask
No.
Patrick Swayze.
Footloose.
Elmore
Oops.
City, Oklahoma.
Oh.
Loosely based on the town.
Footloose.
Kevin Bacon. This is like twice in 3 podcasts.
They say 6 episodes to Kevin Bacon, and it took us 7, and then we have to mention him twice.
The math does check out then.
I think the last movie I
Elmore
saw
City,
Kevin
Oklahoma.
Bacon in was Patriots Day with Mark Wahlberg.
That's bullshit. We watched Hollow Man together.
Yeah, what
This
about Apollo
just
13?
came out
Yeah,
recently.
He almost went to the moon. Was he the one that didn't get to go to the moon and had to watch? Remember, they replaced someone at the last minute in Apollo 13.
He was just sitting out the window going,
He was sitting on like a muscle car or something.
I don't think that
Right?
was Kevin Bacon. He's too cool for that.
Or no, Kevin Bacon was the replacement
Maybe.
for the
I don't know.
dude from Twister.
You found something that I can't quote.
So many movies. Like you said, Apollo 13. I started thinking of
Tom
Armageddon.
Hanks.
And
That's
then
Bruce
you said
Willis.
Twister. And I was
Also,
Helen Hunt.
Bill Pullman.
There's probably we
R.I.P.
need to find
Bill
the
Pullman
one
died. Did
connection
you know
to
that?
all those movies.
What?
Is it Kevin Bacon?
Probably.
Is that what
not.
you're going with? Was that the joke?
Man, no, I wasn't even. I was being serious. I was trying to think of who the guy was that gets left behind in Apollo 13 because he had to get replaced because he got sick, and they weren't
What a
going to send
bitch.
him, so they switched him out.
Paper-handed bitch.
And I think Kevin Bacon was the
that.
replacement,
Damn.
and Bill Paxton was the guy that didn't
Not-
go.
Bill Pullman is the guy that was Independence Day president. We will not go quietly into the night. We will not die without a fight.
Yeah, that is him.
That one.
The dad from Casper. We can just keep going.
Casper,
man.
this is the second time Casper's come up.
All right, we're starting a movie podcast.
This is weird. Episode 7, we're going to mail it in and go back to movies.
Yingling, if you want us to continue, you got to get into a movie.
Pay now. You have 20 seconds. It's like an arcade.
got
We're
It
not
starts
live,
counting
so
down.
we're screwed.
God.
We'll do a live
But
feed
speaking of Yuengling sales, though, they actually didn't make a ton of money until like the bicentennial for the United States. 1976 was like their highest grossing like climb.
They had to make
in
money.
Sales. Well, they were a very traditionally American beer, and that in 1976 is the bicentennial of our country. That's when their highest volume of sales increases were in 1976.
Was that when dancing really kicked off? Disco?
That would have been the 60s,
Disco?
50s, Rat Pack,
Oh.
Yeah,
dance
50s.
halls, banquets.
Yeah.
And doo-wop.
Yeah. Doo-wop, shoo-bada-bada, boom.
Four Seasons.
Yeah, Frankie Valley, baby.
Yeah.
Shout
That's
out.
50s.
Shout out my mom.
I just went to Greece.
Your mom, Frankie Valley?
She's a fan. Maybe
She's a Four Seasons fan?
a groupie. I don't
Or
know.
Jersey Boys.
Big bands.
Yeah, she saw
Jersey
them.
Boys is the musical
Brass.
in the movie.
Woodwinds.
Four Seasons. Frankie Valley and the Four Seasons is the band. I'm trying to pull up.
Got a lot of beats in my head now. Not by Dre.
So where were we at? We got we kind of got the current executive status, still family owned. What about advertising? I don't have a ton on advertising.
Yeah.
You said what 2016 was when they
They
started
really-
leaning into it really heavy.
Well, I mean, we're in Ohio. It's no secret.
Yeah.
Cat's out of the bag. We're northwestern of southeastern central Ohio, per our first episode.
We're in the middle.
Yuengling has only been new to new to Ohio in the last 8 years, 9 years, 10.
yeah.
You used to have to go to Pittsburgh to get it all the time, but they didn't. You were able to look up and find out why that was the case, because there's been a lot of like snake oil and like, you know what I mean. That's probably not the right way of saying it, but like there's been a
Snake
lot
charmers?
of yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of the Blink-182 song.
Oh, I was thinking of
You know,
the
like
guys
radon
that
gas.
play the-
Everybody's like, yeah, it's a myth. Like,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of myths and wives' tales to why it's not been in Ohio, but you found out why. Why was it that
Yes.
you couldn't get Yuengling in Ohio?
So this was there's a lot of theories. You had some theories about ill feelings towards the state of Ohio. Maybe they'd been dissed on some distributions or something.
Yeah, I
And
heard
Ohio's
like a lot
always
of
been big
distribution
on
embargoes.
control of their alcohol as a state government, which has merit. But in 1996, I had that the brewery could not keep up with their consumers' demands of their beers. I guess they had gotten too big for their britches and couldn't keep up the production. So that set off a chain of events. They made the decision, this is a difficult decision, to withdraw from markets outside of their local area. So I don't know how small it got. I don't have the details on that. But 3 years later, they said, okay, we're done fucking around. They went to Philadelphia, Philly's spring training, and he was presented with the opportunity to purchase a former Stroh's brewery to massively increase, and it doubled the size of their production.
I read something about that too.
And so they were able to do that and double their production. And then that was kind of what I say, 1999.
What year was it that they did the Stroh's thing?
1999.
That makes a lot of sense.
Did you?
Well, I had some research on Stroh's, and that's when a lot of that stuff got bought out
Yep.
by Pabst
Yep.
and stuff. So that makes a lot of sense that brewery got.
Which it probably
moved
took
around.
them a while to, fill up that brewery and start getting that production kind of moving. But they didn't come to Ohio until 2011. Because I remember being in high school drinking like beer, whatever.
Couldn't
Sorry.
get Yuengling.
But you couldn't get Yuengling, and I had a friend, Tony Vaccaro,
Oh,
whose family
name drop.
may or may not have acquired some of this Yuengling, and I had one, and it was very good. And I was like, well, then I started growing my mind, saying, why can I not get this in my home state? And what is the meaning of life? And what is government's role in our life?
It's kind of a conundrum.
Then I
a
forgot
US
all about
conundrum.
Yuengling until.
If someone tells you can't have it, you're
I
going to
want
want
it.
it more.
I want it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that wasn't a marketing ploy. That was just government
2.9 million barrels
joking you.
is how much they produce now. I wonder what it was
A
before
year.
then. Yeah, a year.
Probably less.
But that makes sense. They're the largest independently owned. They've have not fallen victim to being bought by big beer. They kind of are their own big beer
Yeah.
for the United States. They still only distribute to 18 states. However, in 2016, this kind of like piggybacks on what I said about the family owned and operated
Yeah.
independent
You just said that.
I know, but they the largest they weren't big on
The
advertising.
big boycotts. You talk about the boycotts?
Yeah, I'll get into that. But we were talking about advertising, and the biggest thing about their advertising in 2016 was their biggest campaign, where it had doubled any of their advertising market for anything of that year. Their thing was respect. Period. It's earned. So I feel like based on that slogan that they ran in 2016, that kind of piggybacks on my theory that the families actually bought the brewery from their father, and they had to earn that respect, worked hard to make sure that the direction of the brewery was a successful one. And the whole part of that was to make it tangible, like the process of how they brew beer and who they are as a company. They wanted to make that tangible to their constituents that bought their beer. They wanted that to be a respect that was earned.
And that makes sense, because if you think about it, like, when's the last time you saw a Yuengling commercial? Where's the Yuengling advertising? There's not a ton of it. Like, you might see it on like a billboard at a sports arena or something, but for the most part, this isn't marketed like Bud Light. This isn't marketed like, stuff like that. But everyone knows what a Yuengling is, and it's good beer, and it's just kind of the advertising isn't really necessary sometimes for them, I guess.
Yeah. Do you want to get into the boycotts?
I don't know. Like, I just have that they were.
2006 was the one that was really
2016.
big. Yeah, but there was one before that.
Well, what's 2006?
So they were known as a union buster. So they actually had to disconnect from Teamsters in 2006 because they actually had a pro-union for their employees.
Yeah.
And then it kind of went down south like 3 years later. So when that went out and they separated from their union, they were considered like union busters. So a lot of people boycotted them. But because of that boycott 10 years before, and that they, overcame the 2016 one that you're alluding to, they were like, nah, dirt off my shoulder. We can handle this, because if you can tell our listeners about that boycott.
Oh, I don't have like a lot. Of just the owner, Dick, came out and said that he endorsed Donald Trump for president. And that sparked a lot of boycotts, but I think they're doing okay. So, whatever.
And I wonder, I don't know when the campaign came out for the Respect It's Earned, but that's the same year that happened. Because what I read was that they were giving Eric Trump, his son, a private tour of Yuengling and everything. And he basically was being interviewed, and they made the tour very public. And he was telling Eric, well, we appreciate your dad,
Trump's
and we want to see him good. Yeah. We'd love to see. He's what this.
So
country
it wasn't
needs.
even like an official stance. It was just
it was just like
that's fair.
Public because it was a publicized tour.
That makes sense. Just showing the support for small or family business.
Do we want to get into why we like this beer?
Yeah, what do you think about the taste? I like Yuengling.
It's one of those weird beers, and I've said this since I first tried it. It's one of those beers that I actually prefer out of a can than out of their bottle. Something about the amber color and the way that they make the traditional lager, it just tastes more full-bodied and rich in a can than it does in a glass bottle.
It definitely has more
Maybe
taste.
it's the ultraviolet rays that we have to. Maybe it's the UV that we avoid with the dark complexion of the.
They got the green. They got the green bottles.
Yeah, I wonder what that is about.
I think
Seth, do you have any input on that?
Cheaper.
Did you do any scientific research on the green bottles and what that might do to the beer and the brewing process?
No, I've done no research. As per my last text when I said, I'm editing podcasts, this takes a long time. I will not be looking up anything about beers anymore.
Why does Yuengling come in?
Yeah, but you're like the steam engine that makes this run.
I mean, I set up cameras and tripods.
You might say that I'm a dreamer, but
Green bottles now simply exist.
I'm not the
for
only one.
Aesthetic and marketing purposes.
Oh.
There's no scientific difference.
Shout out Rolling Rock.
Yeah.
We'll cover that one day.
That's going to get the axe soon.
Is it?
I don't know. Do you think?
It's been around a while, right?
Anheuser's going to have to cut some.
So
they're going to have to get
trim the fat?
remarket a bunch of stuff. So they're probably just going to cut a couple of their loser sailors. No offense to the big Rolling Rock fans out there.
That's a sweet beer, but we won't get into that right now.
Go ahead.
No, you go. I went last time.
All right, that's fair. All I got, 2019, Yuengling partnered with Hershey's for their first partnership in the company's long history. Hershey's, another Pennsylvania native company, to produce Yuengling Hershey's chocolate porter.
Yeah.
it was well received, and I think there's still cases of it floating around.
I can see it from
I've
time
seen
to
it
time.
somewhere, but I don't think they still make it. They may.
Really?
I guess if I see it, I guess they're making it, but maybe they just made too much.
I'd like to put my mouth on that.
It does sound tasty. 2021, Yuengling announced expansion into Texas. So they're just now getting into, they're not completely nationwide, but they're expanding into Texas as of 2 years ago, through a partnership with a Molson Coors facility that's going to help them produce Yuengling. So they can just roll up a recipe, throw it in, and put it through a Molson plant down in Fort Worth, Texas, and get it out. That's pretty nice of them.
Steers and Yuengling, as
That's it.
one
Steers,
says.
Yuengling, and Coors.
Do you want some fun facts on Yuengling?
I don't, but they do.
Who's they?
No, absolutely
Maria?
nobody.
Alicia?
Yeah.
My
ether.
brother? Your brother?
Alicia, not Alicia, right?
Alicia.
Alicia.
Yeah.
I got it right this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Cheers.
It's for you, Alicia. Cashier's check is in the mail, by the way.
Maria, she does not get paid.
She does not get paid. She's just out of here out of pure love and joy.
All right.
And beer.
Fun facts.
Yeah. So 1985, I mentioned earlier that they were registered as a historical place. 1985, the
Yeah.
History Channel did a special on them.
Yeah, the song.
1987, actually, the traditional lager that we're drinking here that everybody knows and loves was developed in 1987. So it wasn't even as popular originally, but it's probably because the U.S. wanted heavier beers because we were hardy.
I think your DoorDash is here.
Maybe.
Could be.
And it's also as old as the typewriter. So the year that this brewery was founded, 1829, was also the same year that the typewriter was made.
How did people enjoy books before the typewriter?
You can't say enjoy.
I think it's
How did
Only
people?
Nick.
How did people books
Scribe.
before the typewriter?
it's only scribed.
A scribe, yeah.
A scribe.
And then 2010,
So before this book, people couldn't even read books. Before this
they
beer,
could read it
people
on
couldn't read
on a
books.
tablet, like a concrete
Like an iPad?
brick
What about Gutenberg? Didn't he do something?
typewriter.
Printing press.
Printing press.
No, that was Eli Whitney.
No, that was
That
the
was-
cotton. That was the cotton.
Cotton gin. Yeah, sorry.
And then
Gutenberg. The
oddly
printing press.
enough,
Silly
because
son of a bitch.
Yuengling endorsed Trump, you said in 2016.
Dick Yuengling did.
Yeah, Dick, right? 2010, Obama came out and said that it was his favorite beer.
Obama
So
supports
F your
Yuengling.
bipartisanship. We like it.
Wow.
Democrats and Republicans alike. But
So Democrats.
nobody has said-
Democrats like Yuengling, and Yuengling likes Republicans.
This is
and
my.
that's all I have on it. Really.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Not interrupting.
This is my favorite. Do people say session beer? That sounds like a weird thing to say. If I were to buy a beer that's not something particular, this is the one. Like, I'm not going to buy Miller. I'm not going to buy Coors. I'm not going to buy Bud Light or Budweiser. This is the one that I usually get.
Yeah. So, full disclosure, if you want to know more about my habits, I was a big Bud Select guy. That was my drinking beer, like Mow the Grass beer or whatever. I made the choice to switch to Yuengling recently, and I've been doing Yuengling Light, and it tastes better, I think.
That sounds like somebody who just quit smoking and got on the patch.
Yeah. Yeah, now I'm just addicted to gum.
Can't notice it right now, but Kenny's not chewing nicotine gum.
No, I'm not. I'm texting my wife to tell her to make the dog stop barking. Why don't
Damn
you
it,
edit
Gus.
that out, Seth?
Yeah.
God.
That's like one of the things where you tell AI to do something and then it ends up like killing the dog.
It kills the operator.
One
But not in real life, in a simulation, I think.
one thing that I'd like to do is buy a vending machine, but instead of regular glass, I'd like to use magnifying glass.
And just use
You'd
fun
be
size
upset, but it'd be too late.
bars. Sell the fun size bars instead.
Yeah.
That's a Mitch Hedberg line. I know
I
what you're
know.
doing.
It's a good one.
Once-
I'm throwing in some filler.
We have a strict podcast rule instituting now. If a Mitch Hedberg line comes out, that means the podcast is naturally ended.
Is it over?
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Until then, don't stay thirsty.